Good morning. This morning is July, what is this morning? Oh yeah, July 14th, 2016. Welcome to my daily vlog. Appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so down below. Leave any comments, questions, or anything you like. So today we're going to be talking about relationships. Relationships and meeting somebody, the fears, the ins and outs, hopefully a little bit. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, but I'm going to cover some kind of key topics. Before I get into it, I need to put a little disclaimer. I am not a psychologist. I didn't go to school for any kind of psychology. I am only sharing my personal thoughts, my experiences, what I've gone through, and just kind of what goes through my head, and what I've gleaned from talking to other people, from watching, certain talks about love and relationships and, the ins and outs. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there that I am not a professional counselor or relationship expert or anything like that. So what you take is basically my knowledge and my experiences and my personal opinion. So let's define a relationship. I define a relationship as two puzzle pieces that really don't even line up and don't even match up. We're looking for this big picture, but when we meet somebody, the person's not going to be exactly what we're looking for. So I compare it to puzzle pieces where the pieces never fit. So what do? We grab a hammer and with some super glue, and we make it fit. And then as time goes by, those puzzle pieces develop into a complete picture, hopefully. I hate to seem corny, but we're looking for that person to complete us. Remember Jerry Maguire, where he goes to, I think it's Renee Zellweger, and says, "You complete me." Okay, so we're looking for that person to complete us, to show us that complete picture. And so my personal experience when I meet somebody, for me it's pretty scary, and I think it's scary for everybody, but for me personally, because I'm in the wheelchair, I'm always hoping the person will accept me for me. And I think we're all that way. I think we all have quirks, and I think we all have little idiosyncrasies that we think are, somebody's going to judge us, or they're not going to accept us for that. But when you're in my situation, I think it's a little bit different, because let's be honest, when somebody's with me, there are some sacrifices, there are some things that are unique to the relationship compared to probably the average relationship. What I mean by that is, let's say you and your partner want to go hiking. Well, you don't have to go map out where you're going to go hiking and see if it's wheelchair accessible. Basically, you just grab your crap and you go hiking. But with me, it's a little bit different. When somebody's with me, there's some things that have to be, I won't say adjusted, but have to be taken into consideration. And so I'm always worried that the person is not going to accept my lifestyle and the way I am. And I think we're all that way, like I said. But I think my situation is a little bit unique. So when we meet somebody, we're always wondering what we can accept and what we're not going to accept. In other words, there's nobody that's ever going to be exactly what we are looking for. Okay, let me say again, because I think that's really a key point. There's nobody that's ever going to be exactly the person that we imagine ourselves with, that we want to be with. There is always acceptance. There's always some things that we have to give and take with. What comes up is what we're willing to give and take, what we're willing to accept and what we're willing to not accept. Me personally, the last young woman I dated, loved her to death. At the time, I was not interested in meeting somebody with children. It just wasn't my priority. When I was younger, I did have this ideal dream life about having kids and about having the wife and the picket, the house and the picket fence. But at my age nowadays, I'm 40 now. It's not a big priority for me. However, when I met her, I saw the true quality of the person, and I knew if that was a quality of person, I'm sure the kids were also amazing, and so I had no problem moving forward, and I'm really glad I did. It was a wonderful, amazing experience. I fell, I don't want to say madly, deeply in love, but I did fall in love, and I didn't just fall in love with her. I fell in love with two amazing kids, and I'm so glad that I stepped out of that comfort zone, or what I thought I was really looking for, and I accepted that. And I think sometimes that's really what a relationship is about: stepping out of that comfort zone, willing to give and take, and willing to really say, okay, hey, could this work? And that's really where a friendship comes in before the relationship. You're kind of feeling the person out. And that's always been a kind of difficult thing for me, because I meet somebody, I like them, and like everything in my life, I've always rushed towards it, and and I worked hard for it. This is one of the issues with when I go through a breakup that I have. Everything in my life has not come at a easy, or let me just back up a little bit. Everything in my life has come at a little bit of effort and sacrifice and work, and so when I meet somebody, I feel it's much the same way, and when they leave, I have a really difficult time just walking away from it. And I think everybody does, but for me, I think more so, because I'm thinking, okay, hey, this is just another obstacle in my life that I need to try to overcome. And so then I fight. And anyways, if you watch my last blog, then you'll see that, sometimes fighting is not the great thing to do, and sometimes it's better just to let go. And if the person comes back, the whole thing. So that's one of the difficulties I always have in my personal life, and I guess one of the things that I need to work on. And with that said, one of the other things I have difficulty with is opening up. There's acceptance, and then there's opening yourself up. A lot of times when I meet somebody, I just want to tell them all the bad things about my life right off the bat. And I don't mean I don't have any negative or bad things. I think I'm a pretty good catch. But there's some scary parts that I feel that are scary to the wheelchair. Meaning there are some things I need help with. As much as I try to be independent, as much as I want to be independent, the fact of life is I have a debilitating disability. It does affect me on a I don't want to say severe level, but it does affect me on a pretty severe level in some ways. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, I just want to show all my cards right off the bat, and then the person, if they want to accept me, can accept me, and if they stick around, that's great. But sometimes it's kind of like the salt mentality. What I mean by the salt mentality, if we have a bowl of soup and we want to enhance the flavor a little bit, we put a little bit of salt on it. But what happens if we pour the whole bottle of salt in the soup? It ruins it. So this is one thing that I've had to kind of learn over the years, and find confidence in who I am and what I can bring to a relationship, and what I can offer is not to dump the whole thing of salt right in the soup. Even though in my book I'm trying to save myself a future heartache, I'm trying to maybe, I don't want to say speed things up, but protect myself. In the end, sometimes I've not given the person an opportunity to make those choices. I've just kind of thrusted it on them. And I think if I was to take it a little bit slower, and over time add a little bit of salt here and there, I think it would be more beneficial, and it would probably be a little bit more easy to accept. So how do we find that person that we ultimately want to be with? Me personally, I am involved in a lot of different things. I'm involved with dogs and kids and photography. It'd be my dream to find somebody that, of course, fits right into that those things that I enjoy. But the fact of life is, I'm not going to find anybody that fits in exactly the things I'm involved in. One of the things that I try to go into in the relationship is wanting to learn and get involved into things that are important to them, and it's a way of expanding your hobbies when you can dive into somebody else. I was very fortunate with the last young lady I dated. She was amazing. She was into animals like I was. This is one of the things that in the beginning actually really strengthened our relationship, because she was into animals and she wanted to learn about dog training, and I was able to help her with that. Honestly, it made me feel really good because it was something that I could give to her. When you're in my situation, a lot of times you don't feel that that ability to really add to a person's life and inspire them. What I mean by that is, let's say one day she wanted to go hunting. I am not in a position where I can just, grab the rifles, clean the rifles, show her how to hunt and do things like that. However, with the dogs, I was really able to jump into that manly kind of role and really teach her, and it was a really amazing feeling being able to do that. And she soaked it up, and she did really good. And I think that's one of the things that really sparked our relationship and really helped our relationship in the beginning. So sometimes we have these unfair expectations where we want to meet that perfect person that is going to be in the same things we're doing, want to do the same things we're doing. But the fact of life, unless you're very fortunate, you're not going to find somebody that is most likely as passionate about you are, about your hobbies and about those important things. However, if you do, that's amazing and I commend you. But for the majority of us, most likely it's not going to happen. So we have to learn to figure out what we're going to settle for and what we're not going to settle for. In other words, there are sacrifices that we make anytime we meet somebody or anytime we let somebody in. There's going to be things that are going to be different about this person. So we have to decide, what are we going to settle for and what are we not going to settle for. The word settle in a relationship really kind of gives me cringes, because I never want anybody just to settle for me. However, I think a better word would be what things we are willing to give and take in. Other words, one of the great things about the last relationship I had, sorry, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but it's a really good example I can use, is because we were involved in the same thing, there wasn't a whole lot of settling I needed to do or accepting that she had to do. However, I did sacrifice some of that time and some of that energy I put in so I could put into things that were important to her. The difficulty with the relationship was she has two amazing kids, and the kids, if you are a parent, you know this, take up time. When soccer started, I think that's really when a strain came on our relationship, because the kids really the kids just soaked up some of that time that we had together to do those things, because they're kids and they need to go to and from soccer, they need to get their stuff ready. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I was willing to take away from some of the dog stuff because I love the kids, and to me it wasn't even accepting it. It was just saying, hey, I now have a different passion, and the passion was the kids. For me, it really worked, and I had no problem giving up those things. A lot of times I feel that people are not willing to give up the things that are important to them. Instead, they would say, well, I'll just try to find somebody else. And so a lot of times I think people are always searching for that perfect puzzle piece, or that piece that's just going to fit, or that person that's just going to fulfill every need that they have. And the fact of life is, it's just not going to happen. And I know I'm kind of beating the dead horse on this, but it's just not going to happen. So you have to be willing to give of yourself. You have to be willing to accept certain things and let certain things go. I think nowadays when it comes to dating, we have this kind of supermarket mentality. I think in the early, probably 60s, 70s, 80s, dating and accepting somebody was way different, because I remember, like, my own parents, they went to a high school. It wasn't, as far as I know, there wasn't a ton of kids. They went to a smaller college. There wasn't this internet or World Wide Web, or what. There wasn't this big communication with the outside world, and so a lot of times you basically met somebody and you hopefully fell in love, and you started to basically learn to accept certain things that weren't perfect, but you loved the person for those things that weren't perfect, and you fought and you worked through issues. Where nowadays we have the supermarket mentality where if you don't like the person you're with, or if things are not meeting up to your expectations, our minds say, hey, you know what, I can get on this website, or I can go to this bar, and I can meet all these other people, and now I have options. And soon as you start having options, I think it kind of turns into the McDonald's kind of philosophy. And what I mean by that is, when you go to the McDonald's, you have a bunch of choices. You can pick from all these different burgers, and you're not paying that much, so you don't mind settling for lesser quality, because now you have so many different options. And let's be honest with you, let's be honest, it's cheap. And so when you have those two factors, I think it's really easy to move on to another relationship, or just say, okay, well, this is not working. Instead of putting the effort into making it work, I'm just gonna go out and I'm just gonna try to meet somebody else. I try not to have that mentality. When I'm with somebody, I really try to communicate with them and work through issues. And and I'm not trying to gloat or anything like that, but when you're in my situation in the wheelchair, you can't just take the easy way out. A lot of things are a struggle. Like I said before, a lot of things take effort for me, and I try to apply that same philosophy into my relationship. So anyways, that's today's vlog. Tomorrow we're going to cover a little bit more. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I would love to hear from you. Please leave any questions or comments down below. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to put out some more videos. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.